we're not dealing with meaning here, okay? We're really dealing with just the composition, okay? Okay, that said, let's resolve the visual hierarchy focal point issue, okay? And you don't always have to have a focal point, but in this case, it's almost begging for one. So I'm going to take our women here and let me kind of reduce their scale. Okay, so that we're starting to create a focal point, or actually just a clear entry point. So okay, the first comment is make it one focal point. Okay, that's what I'm wanting to do. Transform. Is that large enough? A little more. Yeah, a little more. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to make it close enough to these people where there's a sense that they are connected. That there's actually a sense that there's a relationship between these two entities. If I had moved this further off, that relationship gets a bit strained. Okay, this may be too close, but I don't know. We can poke around with it later. Okay, so that relationship is interesting. Now the background, this background structure here is I really kind of enjoy what's happening here. This it's sort of like a transformation from light into dark because there's this overlap taking place and over here. That's pretty cool, and there's a sense of dimension over here. Okay, well the comments the instructor would make would be, well, maybe this becomes so there's so much variety over here. There's so much dynamic activity taking over here that maybe it's sort of diluting the power of this relationship. Okay, so the concentric circles are pretty darn interesting. Okay, and they sort of drive attention to the center of the bullseye, if you will. So they're sort of an attention grabbing device. But maybe this sort of stair step transition over here is really maybe one step too far. So I would make that comment. So let's just turn off the layer that controls these guys. Okay. So let me see. Of course, there's the shape. I think we've got this one, and is there one more? Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. So this is the inventory of shapes we're working with right now, and right now they're not very visible. The concentric circle system, not very visible. It would be best maybe to relocate it so uh, the the pattern of properties I think would be a bit more far more interesting. So let's see what we have here. These two right there. I'm going to see. Yep, those are them. Okay. So let me see here. How much? It's a large thing here. Let me see if I can shrink it down just a little bit. At least get a sense for the entirety of the shape. Oh, okay. I see. This got this sort of like interesting square transparency going on here. That's cool. Okay. All right. So okay. Make this background smaller and make it simple is what I would say. The instructor would say. Okay. So I've done that. I've made it smaller. I've made it a little more simple. Um, and how does it fit into the rest of the composition? Well, sort of oddly in a way. I mean, if I could just leave this right here, leave it all right here. Um, this gets fairly interesting. It does. I'd have to say that the negative space, that's sort of an after effect of the location, the positioning of these concentric circles, gets a wee bit complex, just a bit complex. Let's see if we can do something with this background to make the negative space um, a very interesting series of shapes. Okay, so that's what I would say. Do make take take your composition of lines and do something where it creates a simpler division of space and it controls negative space a little more obviously and maybe more simpler. So I'm going to move it around here and see, there's another thing going on over here. There's this relationship of this edge of the circle to this edge of the circle. So what that tells me is that the this pattern of circles could also contribute to creating a direction in the composition. Okay, meaning that the relationship of this edge to this edge sort of has like an implied diagonal direction, which is kind of nice. I mean, you always have this concentric circle, this sort of radial direction for the center out, which is like a bullseye. It's like it's very powerful. But you've also got this channel of direction that's taking place over here. So if we take a look at the relationship of these people to the shoe, what directions are being implied by that relationship? Well, you could say maybe there's a horizontal direction, but it's really not that strong. I mean, the shoes have a very strong vertical direction, but these players, there's almost like a squarish kind of shape implied. But take a look at these figures over here. Look at that diagonal line. And take a look at the edge of the shoe. And over here as well. There's sort of a diagonal quality here that's being expressed. So why don't why don't you, I would say then, take your pattern of line here and see if you can control it in a way where it adds to creating a dominant direction of the composition. So, okay, make your background a pattern of lines simpler, and make it so that it contributes to creating a dominant direction of the composition. And last thing would be try and create a sense of balance, like asymmetrical balance, but a sense of balance. So okay, so those are my working orders. Okay, so let's do this. Hit Command T for free transform. Now I'm going to rotate this. Okay, and let me see what I can do here to get this in a way where it looks like we're contributing to the diagonal direction that's being implied here between the figures and the shoes. So right now I can't see the edge of the circle behind, and I can see it up here. So let me move it down over here so I can see. So if I want to see some more of this, I'm going to hide some of that. So what I need to do instead is enlarge. Yeah, let's try that. Is basically enlarge this pattern of circles. So now I'm starting to see a relationship evolve or direction involved that reflects the direction that's taking place over here. Okay, so now we're starting to hit on all 6 cylinders. We're not completely there yet. Okay, so I'm going to double click. Okay, so let's enlarge a little bit. Okay, so the negative space that's in here is a very interesting rhythm. And the positive shapes, very interesting rhythm. Very cool. The negative space on this side of town is not that dynamic yet, is it? Not as dynamic as what's happening up here. So what I'm going to do is suggest that we take this structure and repeat it and flop it over. Put it on this side. You with me? Okay. Let me zoom out. Let me take is the option key? Yeah, the option key, and I'm going to make a copy. Okay. Then I am going to hit Command T for transform and spin it around. And let me see if I can get it on pretty much the same angle, but at 180 degrees. And I'm sort of, yeah, I can see the relationship of this versus this. A little more tweaking. Okie dokie, this is getting a little confusing, isn't it? Yes, it is. Okay, so double click. Let's turn off the layer that has all this junk in it. Let me see what I can do there. Okay, wrong one. Let me see here. Okay, what did I just do? Here, I'm just going to turn this one over here. Move it around, see what I got. Oh! Okay, it's independent, isn't it? Yes, it is. I'm going to turn that off. Let's take this one, which is independent, and now make it look really, really, really concentric. Okay, that's cool, right? Right. Okay, good. Very good. Okay, so the last thing would be, does this look balanced? Right now, it feels like everything's weighted on this side, a little more, towards the left-hand side. So I'm gonna select all the visible layers here, one at a time. Okay, hold on the Shift key, go right. Okay, okay, it feels a little more balanced to me now. It sort of feels like a lemon shape here. I might want to just bring this down. But anyway, the bottom line here. I'm going to open this channel up with negative space just a wee bit. It's starting to bug me. I get bugged these when I get tired. Yeah, what's really cool about that now is that this amount of negative space sort of picks up the pattern in here. It's almost, this negative space is almost as wide as here. So that's a repetition of negative space. That's pretty cool. Repetition of variation, very powerful thing to control and design. And there you go. So it feels a little more balanced. I could probably spend the next 50 minutes nudging this thing into perfection, but you get the idea. So now we have a focal point. We have a sense of visual hierarchy. First thing I see, second thing I see, third thing I see. Okay, the background pattern, the negative space is interesting. The negative space works for all the components here. Okay, you can see how the negative space of just the group of people over here is. I mean, you have such an interesting variety of proportions of negative space. This very large zone here, this relatively large zone in and around there, and the smaller area of negative space under here. So your negative space has a lot of variety, which is really, really pretty cool. I'm going to turn off these folks, turn on the shoes. Same thing with the negative space here. You've got a contrasted proportion of different sizes of negative space. Turn this guy off. Which ones are we now? This one, not this one, no. This one and this one? No, not this one. This one. Yeah, there it is. And look at how this is treated the negative space. So all the elements are really treated the negative space sort of in a very dynamic way, and now we sort of bring them all together by unity. The unity here in this whole composition, and I'll show you in 1 second. Boom, boom. Okay. The unity here that's taking place here is by one proximity. This group, this image is very close to this. If we're any closer, the tension might be too strong. Okay, but in this location, there's just enough tension to have a magnetic effect on this item versus that item. There's just enough space here to create a comfortable tension. And then you have the relationship of these two versus this background concentric circle pattern. Okay, so there's unity there by overlap. Okay, so the unity is taking place here by proximity. Unity is taking place, these guys versus this, but the background pattern by overlap. Okay, so I'm going to go up to Save for Web. And we'll see if it's a JPEG file. Check the quality. Are we okay with 39? Yeah, that's too large, but nothing, no calamity is going to happen to you because of that. And let's call it just X. Okay, fine. File X. Great. Okay. Now let's go to Revert. Let's take a look at the original. Where we came from. Wow, okay. And now let's open up the other file. And let's compare the two. So you see the difference that a single focal point will make. Okay? And the background pattern, which was really interesting before, has been simplified now. So, I mean, there's so many ways of approaching this because we could have just enlarged the women here and reduced the shoes or diminish their intensity, sort of ghosting them back, and have a little more fun with the idea of bullseyes, targets. Okay, so that was just one way of going about it. Okay, guys. So, all right. So anyway, have fun, and we'll talk to you later.